Hello and welcome to today's video. My name is Grisan and I'm a visual artist based in Vienna. And in this video series, I'm talking about a series of my works on the topic of light and shadow. Today's video, I want to talk about this work. And I want to show it to you first and invite you to have your own connection to this work. For just a few minutes, feel into it, meditate, contemplate, and see what it does, see what it speaks to you. And after that, I will come in and talk a little bit about what my intention, what my questions were, what I was experiencing, thinking of, intending with this artwork. Welcome back. So this is a work entitled The Kiss. It's from 2015 and it's painted with ink on canvas. And what we can see in this work is a kiss. It is not supposed to be perceived on the first sight, but there are two people that you can make out here, if you wish. And this is one head and the other head. And they also have shoulders. So this is one person here and another person here. And they're intertwined, right here in the middle. You can also see the earlobes here and here. And in this work and other works I will show you from this period, I am going on with my exploration actually that I described in other videos on how the darkness creates the light, how the darkness is the potential, the universe where you pull out things, pull out the light, and this light can now be used to form whatever you want. So all these rings and circles, lines and everything are in movement in a way and form themselves to, for example, to anthropomorphic, so figure-like forms, shapes, but they also can fall apart and reform to something else, to another shape, to another being, to another thing, right? And we also don't know, is this like cosmic, is this huge, monumental, or is it tiny, 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 small, right? So there is no size that we can refer to here. This could be a galaxy as well as something like a bacteria or something very, very small. And while I'm talking about life forms here in a way, because talking about people, of course, refers to life, it is also very technological and cold in its aesthetics. It reminds us maybe of metal rings. And this is something I also felt, this is why I wanted to emphasize or bring in some life into this dynamics here of the kiss, of this encounter, or maybe push and pull, right? So they're encountering and intertwining, and maybe they're also pulling apart. So it can be both movements. So this area in the center is brownish, and I wanted it to remind us of rust, because rust, of course, is chemically very similar to our blood. So this is why I felt there is a connection, there is a life force or life energy that can come in. We can think of this if we want. Rust is also something that reminds us of the time, of the passing of time. So this work is about duality of light and dark, of between two people, the encounter, the kiss, but maybe it could be also perceived as something like a fight where they are intertwined in a way that they cannot pull apart. So it's like a stagnation, something that is actually hindering both to move on and become new things, or just go in different directions. This work also reminds me of technological things. It could be something like a machine, it could be something like a metal structure, it could be something like a sculpture, if you like, a light sculpture. And of course, this is something very interesting in today's debate about cyborgs, about AI, about human body and machines, and how we perceive ourselves. Are we purely biological beings, or are we also technological beings within our bodies, like cyborgs, for example? However, it is not a cyborg. It's not the idea of a cyborg. It's not about robots or anything like that in the first place. It's more something about energy and matter. Things being in a state of flux, in a state of movement, being pure energy, which can be perceived by these lines, by these circles. So there is this movement, right? And then we pull this energy and bring it into form. And this is what happens to light as well. We are all light in the end, right? So it's about materialization of a shape, a thought, you could say. How it takes shape, it's not seen like we are, right? It's just the structure underneath. So it could be something like an inner structure of a being, right? There are other works from this period that work with this idea of energy, circles, lines, whirls that collapse into anthropomorphic body-like form, just like this work, for example, where you can see two bodies hanging together, being united by this infinity loop. Very abstract, because it's not about a certain person, it's not about details, but it's more about the idea of the energy turning into a certain shape and falling apart again and reforming, reshaping itself into something else. In this painting, for example, it's about two of these figures that are going apart, tearing apart into two directions. One is up and one is down. You can recognize them by the nose, seen from the bottom. Or, for example, in this work where they are hanging together, but there is one part of the chain that is breaking apart. I wanted to emphasize this connection between the macro and the microcosm, between us as humans and a galaxy. So we are the universe. The universe is within us. And we are the ones who get to decide, consciously or unconsciously, what we pull out of this universe, and therefore what we are, what we become, what we are able to create, because we create ourselves. I wrote about these concepts much more in my manifesto for a new art entitled Bearthumanity, and I invite you to go to the website bearthumanity.net and read more about these concepts, because I feel we are in a very important paradigm shift right now, from an old worldview to a new worldview, and I know that art can help us to make this shift, because it's a shift that requires our metaphysical understanding, our metaphysical perception of ourselves, which means that we are not only physical beings or rational beings, but we are far more than that. We are spiritual beings, we are emotional beings. Yes, we are physical beings, of course, as well, and we are mental beings. But we connect on much more levels as human beings to each other and to the earth and to nature and to reality in general. And I feel it's necessary, and necessary for our survival, to make this metaphysical evolutionary step as humanity. And I feel that art, and this is how I intend my art can inspire us, it can guide us to go on this inner journey of self-discovery, to know ourselves, to be brave to look into our shadows and discover more of who we are. And a lot of the times this discovery is much more, it's beautiful. It's not something to be afraid of. Even though at the beginning, the first step, where you enter the unknown within you, when you enter the darkness within you, when you enter the inner mysteries, there is this fear of the first step. But once you start that, once you go on this journey, you will find more and more and more of your talents, of your creativity, of who you really are. You will start to remember who you are, and you won't need anybody outside of yourself telling you who you are, telling you what to do, what to think, what to feel, what to work, how to be. Because it is your life. You are your own creation. So create yourself out of your inner universe. I will leave you with these thoughts, and I invite you to stay a little bit longer and meditate on this work. And if you're intrigued by this work, I invite you to either visit me in my studio in Vienna, or go to my website and find out more about these works. There is also a web shop where you can purchase available artworks. And other than that, I invite you to get in touch with me, comment below what you think, what you feel about this dance and polarity of light and darkness, what you've experienced so far on this topic. And I'm happy to see you in the next video where I will present another work on the topic of light and shadow. Until then, take care.